All right, now let's go to this, because the controversy surrounding the South African National Defence Forces Chief General Rudzani Maphwanya's unauthorized visit to Iran is deepening, with the president now distancing himself from the trip. Maphwanya recently returned from the Islamic Republic of Iran, where he endorsed the country's stance on Gaza while calling for closer military ties between Pretoria and Tehran. President Cyril Ramaphosa has slammed the visit and the comments as ill-advised and concerning. Here to chat about these developments and the next course of action is Defence Ministry spokesperson Onicca Kwakwa. Onicca, thank you so much for the time. Appreciated. One imagines it's an extremely difficult time at present, but you've released a statement to this regard, saying then that South Africa's foreign policy is determined by the presidency and the International Relations and Cooperation Department. Has the commander of the South African National Defence Force met with both of those departments, the presidency as well then as DIRCO as yet, and perhaps when he might meet with the president?
Good morning, Arabil, and good morning to the viewers. Yes, let me confirm that the minister met with the general last night, as we've indicated that they will do so upon his return. And they had a conversation, and minister also expressed herself on how she feels about the utterances that were made in Iran. And I won't be able to respond on behalf of the presidency as to when that meeting is going to take place. So, but as confirmed yesterday by the spokesperson, Vincent, the meeting will take place. I just don't know when.
Do you know if any action will be taken then against the commander-in-chief, and not from a presidency point of view or anything like that, but within the South African National Defence Force, because a situation like this may indeed be breaching its own standards too?
At this point, I won't be able to say. I must just mention that they have met and minister expressed her unhappiness about the utterances, as I've already indicated. And we will depend, of course, on the president, who is the one who is responsible in terms of the constitution, has the responsibility to appoint the chief of the SANDF. So we'll be guided by what the president would have decided.
The trip wasn't sanctioned then by either Minister Angie Motshekga, the Minister of Defence, or the President. Do you know what the exact purpose, are you able to share what the exact purpose of the trip was?
Let me first indicate that the trip was approved by Minister Motshekga. In terms of the regulations, she's the one who has the powers and the mandate to approve the trips, or rather the trips of both the chief of the SANDF and the DG, who is the Secretary of Defense. So the president doesn't approve trips at that level. And of course, as mentioned yesterday, Mr. Vincent saying that it was not sanctioned, that is true. The trip really was about honoring an invitation that was made by the Iranian government when they visited us 2 years back. They even reiterated their request for us to meet, because there are a number of programs that we engaged on since the MOU was signed in 2016, which informs the engagements from military health services to cyber security, technology, and so forth. So we've been doing those exchanges, and it was now our turn as South Africa to visit the country. And of course, we are alive to the utterances that were made, which were really the domain of DIRCO and the presidency. That's why we have in our statement said the utterances were unfortunate, but the trip was approved by the minister. It was supposed to be undertaken late last year, but they were overtaken by events in terms of the work of the department, and then it was only approved for now.
I'm going to ask a question that I'm hoping you'll be able to help me with, because with this, we're just trying to understand the reasoning behind some of these utterances. And I know the statement has come out to say that they were unfortunate, but just to understand the thinking, if possible here, of General Maphwanya, then speaking about common goals with Iran, are you able to share what the thought or what he believes are indeed those common goals he saw between Iran and South Africa?
Unfortunately, Arabil, I'm not able to. I don't know the thinking of the general or chief of the SANDF at that level. Maybe if you were asking what about the minister, because I work with her, I sometimes get, context when she speaks. But in terms of the chief of the SANDF, I honestly won't be able to say what is his thinking, especially now, because the outburst is not just about him going to Iran, the timing only, or rather the utterances, but also it's about the context of the current geopolitics. So I believe that South Africans have all the rights to really question the timing, the utterances, and all that. But I can tell you now that we really have raised our unhappiness about the utterances.
Yeah.
They were unfortunate, and we believe that Chief would have learned his lessons and we won't have to go through this again.
Yeah, I suppose I asked that question off the back of the conversation that you confirm he had with the Minister Angie Motshekga then yesterday, and was wondering whether he had brought you into confidence in that regard. Are you able to share maybe then the relationship between Minister Angie Motshekga then and the chief himself then, whether that is still in good standing? Was that in good standing even prior to all of this?
Yes, so the minister and the chief of the SANDF, they work very well. They meet probably twice a week because there are a number of issues in the environment and what number of issues that we're grappling with, as you know. So we always have to schedule meetings between them. Sometimes there would even be urgent meetings. So they meet, they have a very good working relations, and I know that there was an article a week or 2 weeks back that was talking about the chief who was defying the minister. And I think that article was very unfortunate, because the story of the report or the recommendations of the military ombuds, it is a report that was tabled to the minister in the 6th administration. And as you know, these are recommendations. So minister, when she arrived now in the 7th administration with a backlog, it's not just a one recommendation. There are a number of reports, not only from the military ombuds, there are a number of reports from, the AG, from the Public Service Commission and so forth. That's like we have with many other departments. And the minister must apply her mind, because if you're just going to rush into implementing a recommendation, which we take the military ombuds very serious and it's their recommendations, but we need also to apply mind so that we don't implement a decision and we end up in court, especially that the decision or the recommendation has financial implications. So the minister is engaging with the general to say this colonel who was dismissed and reinstated, what then become a course of action. But this does not mean that the chief is defying the minister. And by the way, the chief even himself, it is within his right to engage with the report, seek legal opinion, so that he does not implement a decision, or rather not even a decision, a recommendation that will end him in court. So there is that balance, but I can tell you now, Aravina, the working relations with the minister and the chief, we're cruising nicely.
Yeah, interesting commentary there. Onicca, just as a final one and a thought here. So you're saying a little bit earlier that it would not be in the minister's purview to be able to enforce any kind of repercussions here or consequences to the chief. This would have to depend fully on the president, but and having put forward your disappointment at the comments, that there's no more that unfortunately the minister can do to that.
Not really. The minister can, do a few things. Like I said, they've met, and I won't be able to divulge, the conversation for now until the president then comes on board. But the minister, they reserve the right to reprimand, to raise her unhappiness, and to really, because I said they have a cordial relationship. So I've seen, a DA grandstanding about the martial court, which is the judicial court that must be invoked on the general. But I must say that for the minister or the president to decide on whatever course of action, it is really upon the president. But for now, minister just raised her unhappiness and agree to engage forward on this matter with the president.
Is this a fireable offense, do you think, by the president?
Where I'm sitting, I don't know. By the way, must still give the chief, the president must still give the chief a hearing. I don't have a privilege of divulging what was the conversation between the chief and the minister for now. But where I'm seated, I'm not able to indicate the gravity of this offense and say it deserves what kind of a reprimand.